Hey, it's Richard. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you again for coming to join me. On this video, I'm going to give you some thoughts about social media and about the best ways to think about using social media for your business. There are a lot of social media platforms, aren't there? There are a great many of them, and if you try to use them all, it can become very, very confusing because they each have their own nuances. And I know back in the early days of starting my own business, when I thought I needed to be across every platform, just the effort of thinking what to create, what to post, how to add value on each individual platform can be so confusing. And you don't need to get yourselves into quite such a mess. There are a couple of things to think about when you're shaping your strategy. And really, we're talking about a strategy for social media here. The first one is, where does your target audience hang out online? For instance, if your target audience, if you have a business to consumer type business, let's say you're selling a service or a product to the general public, certain social media platforms will be better than others for that. You wouldn't post business to consumer type content on LinkedIn, for instance. I've seen people try it and it never really works. But things like Instagram, things like Facebook, things like YouTube, good platforms for a B2C type business. If you're looking to sell to businesses, if a business is your target audience, so you're a B2B type marketing, it's a little bit different. Things like Instagram and Twitter can work quite well, but LinkedIn becomes more important. YouTube is again very useful, and your website and blog articles attached to your website again can be a really effective strategy. So you have to think about where the people you want to connect to are most likely to be found online and create content there. Okay, so that's the first thing. Where does your target audience hang out online? The second thing to think about then is, what sort of content does your target audience value most? If your target audience likes to see you work, if experiencing you almost in person and seeing you work or seeing you speak is important to your target audience, then something like a YouTube channel, absolutely brilliant. You can show them what you are like. That's the whole purpose for this channel of mine. It's so that people can see and experience me before perhaps even speaking to me on the phone or ever having a meeting. It's a way that people can see who I am and the sort of work that I do. If you create things, if you make things, again, YouTube video as a general format is a great way to show people that. If imagery, if pictures and images of what you do or you at work are important to your target audience, if that's what they want to engage with, or if it's particularly important to your product, images such as Instagram or a photo blog or something like that would be really, really useful. If your target audience values long form insight, perhaps the written word might be better. And you could think about a blog, you could think about a website with lots of written form articles, or a separate blog, or a blog combined with a website. So that's the second thing to think about, is what is the kind of content most likely to engage your target audience. If you have a very young audience, comparatively, certain platforms will work better than others. So you need to think about where they will be online, but you also need to think about the kind of content that they will find the most engaging in terms of its type, in terms of its length. Does it need to be long and deep? Does it need to be short and snappy? That will also guide you as to where the best place for you to put your content online will be. The third thing to think about, though, in its three circles that have to intersect, is what is the best way for you, given your own characteristics, your own preferences, what's the best way for you to create content? If you're very, very good at graphic design and art, then a visual format, somewhere where you can share visual imagery, will be absolutely brilliant. Maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's photographs or images on your LinkedIn profile, if that's the way that you create content the best for you. Maybe you're brilliant at the written word, and writing a long form, really informative, well thought out blog article is something you find very easy to do. That would then also guide you as to ways to think about creating content for your business. If you're confident at speaking, if being in front of a camera doesn't faze you and you can speak to a camera very easily, well, then maybe you should think about video. So again, it isn't one thing or the other. It's thinking about how do those three circles intersect of where your audience will be, what's the sort of content your audience will find engaging. Thank you. Well, the dog interrupts my video once again. And now the dog stopped barking. And that third circle of what's the content that you create the most easily, the most readily, where does your natural voice sit? And if you can find something that works across those three, that's a really good guide towards the ways in which you should be focusing your social media. And don't focus on platforms where you either find it incredibly difficult to create content or your audience isn't to be found, because you'd just be wasting your time or costing yourself a lot of energy and a lot of effort. The final point to think about is this. Most social media platforms are driven by algorithms. And what I mean is this, that let's say you have 1,000 followers on LinkedIn or Instagram. Just because you post something does not mean 1,000 people are going to see it. The algorithm behind LinkedIn or Instagram or any other platform decides how often and who to show that content to. And so the exposure of your content can be much, much less than the actual number of followers that you have. So you can spend a lot of time and effort trying to create content that hacks the algorithm. That can work, but I'll talk about this on LinkedIn another time. It's led to some platforms being not what they were really created to be. It drives a certain kind of content that's not terribly engaging. You can try and figure out what the most engaging content of the moment is and ride that wave, but again, that changes. No one really understands how these algorithms work moment to moment beyond the people who've coded them. So the best strategy is this: just create content that your audience will find engaging, that you find easy to create, and just do it regularly. Don't worry too much about the numbers. You're not necessarily looking to build a massive audience. You're looking to build the right audience of people who engage with what you create. You can get very, very stressed about how to build that audience and try and make that happen more quickly. These things tend to happen quite organically, and you tend to find the people that like that content, that are on the right platform for you, that enjoy what you post, will engage with it. And if that's the right people, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. You can have a massive following and relatively few of them will actually be your target audience for your business, for your service, for your product, whatever it is you do. So that will be my last piece of advice on this video, is kind of relax with it. Don't get too stressed out about it, and create that content and post that content at a frequency and on a platform and in a way that suits who you are, the time you've got and the energy that you've got. Okay, I'm going to follow this up with some more detailed videos on some of the platforms in particular, perhaps starting with LinkedIn. But for now, I'll be back with another video next week. Sorry once again about the interruption from the dog. I work in this room with 2 dogs most of the day, and they're my work colleagues, but they do interrupt. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you next week. So in the meantime, have a great week, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.